See, I will talk about this one, the next topic for this one. For this one, these are examples that I think you should finish it, or you should try to do it at home. So I will not talk about this one in the class because I just give you the solution for each of your example. This one already, and it also has the topic of the monetary policy somewhere here too. So you need to study the next topic first before doing this exercise. So I will skip this slide and I will ask you to do it as your hobbies in your free time. Okay, because I just give you the solution already. Okay, now let's move to the next topic of today's lecture. And for this one, we will move from the financial institution to the monetary policy and the process of the money supply. And for this lecture, is I think in the next topic it is macroeconomics. Okay, the monetary policy is a topic in the macroeconomics. Okay, let's see the slide first. Oops. Okay, this one. This slide, money supply, process, and monetary policy. We use this one first. Okay, let's see together. I will start my lecture now. We will move from the financial institutions to the topics of the monetary policy. And when we talk about the monetary policy, we are somehow more or less talking about the central bank. Okay, the central bank. In Thailand, the central bank is the Bank of Thailand. In England, the central bank is the Bank of England, and in the US, the central bank is the Federal Reserve System. In Japan, we call it the Bank of Japan. Okay, so for this one, we will talk about the activity or the operation from the central bank and the instruments that the central bank used to control the money supply. Okay, control the money supply. Because if you can control the money supply, you can control the interest rate. Okay, before I go any further, I would like to give you the big picture of the macroeconomics first. And in fact, I would like to wait for your friend, but anyway, let's see this one. Okay, this one is just for your revision. This one is just for your revision. Let's see. Suppose that we have, I'm not sure how many of you study macroeconomics or intro to macroeconomics? Could you please raise your hand? Macroeconomics, have you ever studied about macroeconomics? Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, let's see this one. Suppose that we have the money market. Money market is the market for money. Okay, the market for money. In this market, or when we talk about market, we will talk about the demand and the supply. Okay, when we talk about the market, we have the invisible hand. The invisible hand is the demand and supply. So this one, from your introductory microeconomics, we will have price here, okay, and have the quantity here. The price of the goods and services, and Q here is the quantity of goods and services. However, in this market, it is a market for money. What is the price of the money? Or what is the opportunity cost of holding money? The interest rate. So the price here is the interest rate. Okay, the interest rate is the opportunity cost of holding the money. When you hold the money for your daily use or your daily activities, it means that you neglect the interest rate from from the deposit in your bank. And here, Q is a quantity. The quantity here in the money market is the money itself. Okay. So for this one, suppose that we have this one, we call it the supply of money. Okay, the supply of money or the money supply. I label here describes as the money supply. It is a vertical axis because changes in the interest rate will not affect changes in the money supply. The money supply is determined outside the market. And who determine the money supply? Exactly. Central bank determine the money supply. You can think of money supply as the joystick, and the central bank is a gamer. The gamer use the joystick to play the game, right? So this one it is the same logic. The money supply is the joystick, and the central bank is the gamer. For this one, we also have the demand. Demand is the negative. Demand exhibit the negative slope. For this one, I just label this term MD, demand for money or the money demand. Okay, you can see that when the interest rate goes up, the people tend to hold less money in the pocket. Why? Because we have the higher cost. We have the higher opportunity cost. Suppose that the commercial banks, and now that they will give you, let's say, 50% of the interest rate of the nominal rate, you tend to feel that that there will be very high cost of holding the money, right? And you would like to deposit the money in the bank. So this is the exactly the same, because when the interest rate goes up here, the cost of holding money is greater. That is why we have the lower level of holding money here, or lower level of money demand. And when the interest rates go down, like our situation nowadays, we have the, let's say, 1% or 0 something percent in the bank account, and people tend to have the demand for money because they feel that when they they hold the money for the daily purpose, when they use the money in their daily activity, it is somehow better than deposit the money in the bank. So that's why we have the greater levels of the demand for money. For this one, I start here is the interest rate at the equilibrium. You can think of this as the equilibrium price. Okay, you can think of this as the equilibrium price. Okay, now let's see what happened next. Suppose that the central bank would like to increase the money supply in this graph. The central bank can put the joystick forward. That's why when the central bank increase the money supply from MS1 to MS2, the graph shift outward here. Okay, holding everything is constant and money demand is at the same position, you will have the lower levels of the interest rate. Okay, now let's see further. As you know, we have this equation. Okay, I don't require you to study macroeconomics before studying this class, but anyway, I will just show you the idea. Okay, if you understand the idea, that is all about this one. You don't need to study the macroeconomics. Okay, but I would like you guys to understand the ideas behind the macroeconomics. Okay, let's see this one. Suppose that we have let's just give you this one. This is the market for everything. This is the market for everything in our economy. Okay, we have here as the price level, but it is the overall price level, the overall price levels of anything in the economy. And here is the quantity of everything in the economy. When we talk about everything, we will use the word aggregate. Okay, aggregate. So for this one, we also have the demand. But this one is the demand for everything in the economy. So that's why we call this the aggregate demand. Sorry for my handwriting. You can use the AD as a shorthand of aggregate demand. And we also have the supply for everything in the economy. We call it the aggregate supply, AS. Okay, let's see. For AD, this one, we can use Y. Okay, we can use Y as the representations of the quantity here, and this guy P at the equilibrium. Okay, so Y or the quantity of the goods and services for the overall economy equal consumption plus private investment plus what next? Government and net export. Okay, and net export. And for these four components of the aggregate demand, I would like you guys to narrow your interest into this guy, which is the investment. Investment here is the private investments from the business firms in the economy. Okay, investment here is the private investment. Private investment from the business firms, in the overall economy. So, what is the cost of investment when you borrow the money to expand your factory? What is the cost of investment? The cost of the investment is the interest rate. And the interest rate here is determined from money market. Okay. So this is the heart of the monetary policy. You can see that for this one, there is a change in the demand or supply in the money market. However, the change in the money market will somehow affect the change in the market for goods and services. You can think of this Y or these quantities as the real economic activity. The real economic activity is measured by the real GDP. Okay, the real GDP. So this is the real sector. Okay, the real sector. But this guys is the financial sector. Okay, the money market, the sector that associated with the money. So when we have something here, change here, and if that change affect the interest rate, the interest rate here will be the link between the worlds of money and the worlds of goods and services. It's linked through the investment. Okay, let's see next. What happened next? Suppose that the central banks increase the money supply. The money supply here will shift outward, okay, or shift to the right hand side. If you see this position, money supply shift to the right hand side, it means that the central bank increase the money supply. Holding everything else constant, the price of the money will go down. What is the price of the money? It is the interest rate. When the interest rate here go down, the effects will come to these guys. When the interest rates go down, the cost of investments will go down too. That is why investment will go up. And holding everything else constant, when the investment goes up, aggregate demand shift to the right hand side and the economic activities increase. Okay. Okay. Conversely, let's see on the opposite side. Suppose that the central bank would like to reduce the money supply. What happens next? The money supply will go down. Okay, the graph will shift to your left hand side. MS3 here. And for this one, you will see that if we hold everything constant, the interest rates will go up. Okay, the interest rate will go up. And when the interest rate goes up, its effect is transmit to the investment here. When the interest rate goes up, it means the cost of the investment also goes up. That is why the investment go down. Holding everything else constant, the aggregate demand will shift to your left hand side. And the economic activity here will go down here at Y3. And you can see that this is why we need to understand the monetary policy, because it's affecting real economic activity. Especially, please note this point very carefully, especially in the short run. The monetary policies will work best in the short run. Why? Because the price levels in the short run is fixed. We call this, economists call this the sticky price. The sticky price. To show you the concept, this one I will not test you on your final exam, so you can skip this one, but I will explain. It is unexaminable. Don't include in your final exam, okay? This one will not be in your final exam. Let's see. This one is the equation of the quantity of the money. MV equal PY. Sometimes we call it the Cambridge equation. M stands for money supply. V is the velocity, P is the price level, Y is the real economic activity. In the short run, the price is sticky. It means that the price is fixed. So we put bar over P here. And velocities, or the rate that the money exchange from hand to hand in the economy, is also fixed. If the central bank increase the money supply, okay, in the short run, if the central bank increase the money supply, the overall effects of the money supply will make this equation to be the inequality here, right? In order to resume the equality, Y should go south. So increase the money supply will increase the real economic activity only in the short run. We can say that the monetary policy is very effective in the short run when the price is fixed. On the contrary, in the long run, for this one, in the short run. On the contrary, in the long run, when the price is flexible, what happens? M is still the money supply. V is the velocity. V is when it's fixed. Equal P and Y. In the long run, the economic activity tends to be around its expected value. When I talk about the expected value, I mean the potential output. It is the output from the it is the output that reflects the performance of that economy. And for this one, you can say that this one just an example. For some country, For some, I don't know whether it is the appropriate example or not. Okay, just for the example, suppose that we have some country um, that is still less developed. Okay, less developed country. Let's say country A, and we have developed countries, which is one country B. And if we analyze the potential output which reflects the performance of the real economy, you will find that the potential output of the country B should somehow greater than the potential output of the economy A. Okay, this one is less developed. This one is developed economy. Okay, this is the idea of the potential output. It shows the real capacities of the country or the real capacity of the macroeconomy of that country. For this one, Y bar is the potential output. Is also a fixed value in the long run. However, in the long run, the price here is flexible. So when the central bank increase the money supply, what will happen? This one will be the inequality, right? So in order to restore the equalities, price should goes up, not Y, because Y here is fixed in the long run. Okay, Y is fixed in the long run. That's why the monetary policy is ineffective in the long run because the central bank cannot use the changes in the money supply to increase the level of the economic activity in the long run. It's left only the price level here. The effects will be thrown into the changes in the price level. That is why in the long run, when you increase the money supply, the overall effect will be in the price level, not the real economic activity. However, in the short run, the monetary policy is very effective because changes in the money supply will affect the Y on output. Okay, this is the idea. In fact, this is the in fact this one is the topics of the monetary policy that you can study from the I don't know maybe macroeconomic 101 or something, and that is also about the monetary policy. And okay, in my course I will emphasize only this part. Okay, and I will talk about how the central bank increase the money supply and how the central bank can lower the level of the money supply. But one thing I would like to let you know is that changes in the money supply in the short run will affect the real economic activity. This is the point of this chart. Okay, this is the point of the chart. Okay, can I go to my slide? Okay, now let's get back to my topic, to our topic today. Please no worry, I will take a photo of this this paper and then I will upload on your Facebook group. Okay, let's get back to this one. Okay, let's start our lectures properly. Okay, in this topic we will talk about the role of the central banks and how the central banks control the money supply. As you know, that changes in the money supply will affect the real economic activity, especially in the short run, not the long run. Now, first topic that we will explore is the players in the money supply, the determination of the money supply. The second one is the balance sheets of the central banks and how the central banks control the monetary base. And the topic that is very crucial in this one is the multiple deposit creation. And the last one is the determination of the money supply. We still have 1 hour. Okay, I think I can finish this slide. Okay, let's see first. The players in the money supply process. Who is who in the money supply process? The first player and the most important one is the central bank. Okay, the central bank. For Thailand, you can go to this website, Bot Bank of Thailand. And for this one, you can see that the key policy rate or the short-term rate, the central banks and the governors of the banks of Thailand and their committee will hold a monetary policy committee meeting, and then they will determine the rate, which is the short run, and this rate will somehow affect the overall economy. Oops. Okay, the first one is the central bank, and the next player is the commercial banks. Okay, the commercial banks. When we talk about banks here, we mean the banking system, or we can talk about the depository institution. But I want you guys to think about the commercial banks. Okay, just normal commercial banks. And the last one is us, depositors. Okay, the depositors. Okay, let's examine the central bank balance sheet in details. For the balance sheet of the central bank, I will divide it into two categories, the asset side and the liability side. On the asset side, you will have the securities. Sorry. In fact, if you cannot catch what I say, you can scroll it down and you will find the detail somewhere here. But anyway, I will talk direct from my mind. Okay, let's see. Talk from my mind. Okay. On the asset side, we have the security. The securities here we mean the government security, such as the government bond. Okay, such as the government bond. In some textbooks or in some cases, we divide the securities into the domestic securities and the foreign. We divide the security into the domestics. Yes, I think I can use the word security. Sorry. We can divide into the domestic securities and the foreign securities. Okay, the domestic securities and the foreign securities. So when we talk about the FX market, and when we talk about the topic of the sterilization, when the central bank try to intervene the financial market, the market for the foreign exchange currencies. When we talk about that, we mean here this one, the foreign securities. So the foreign securities will somewhere here, okay, with the domestic securities. But in this topic, I just combine everything to be the securities. And when we talk about the securities here in this topic, we mean the government bond. That is all. Okay, government bond. Think about government bond. Next, the next items of the asset is the loans. But this loan is very special because it is a loan to the financial institution. Central bank is the banks of the commercial banks. It is the lender. Sorry, it is the lender of last resort. Okay, it is the lender of last resort. When financial institutions have some problems, they have to go to the central bank. Okay, as you know that when we talk about the liquidity management and when we try to overcome that issue, the commercial bank can borrow the money from the central bank. Okay, and the central bank will charge the discount rate or will charge the interest rates on that loans. Okay. These loans are for the financial institution, not just for people in that economy. Okay. Okay, next one. Let's move to this side. This side is the liabilities. And for this one, the currency in circulation and the reserve. These two items are liabilities to the central bank. When we talk about the currency in circulation, I would like you guys to think about the money in your pocket. That is the money in circulation. And reserve is the money in the pocket of the commercial bank. Okay, reserve. Here you can think about the money in the pocket of the commercial bank. But the currency in circulation here is the money in your pocket. We can use capital letter C, okay, stand for currency. And for this one, we can use a capital letter R, stand for reserve. Okay. These are also about items that are important to the central bank. Okay, this one I will skip because I just talked about it already. Okay, one thing that is very special about the central bank is that items on the liability side of the central bank can be called the monetary base, or you can call it the high power money. And you will see in a few minutes why we call it high power money. Okay, monetary base or high power money can be divided into two components, and these two components are in the liability side of the central bank balance sheet. The first one here, capital letter C, is the currency in circulation, and this one is reserve. This one, C, is in the hand of the general public, but R for this one is in the pocket of the commercial banks, okay, of the commercial banks. C for people, R for commercial bank. Oops. Sorry. Okay, for this one. Okay, let's move next. Next topic is about the open market operations. We can call it almost, OMOS. Okay, almost. What is almost? Almost is a a means that a central bank used to influence the money supply. If you remember this chart, okay, this one, when the central bank increase the money supplies or when the central bank decrease the money supply. In fact, the central bank has a means to influence this. One of that means is the open market operation of OMO. Okay, so when the central bank would like to increase the money supplies, it just conduct the open market operation. Okay, just conduct the open market operation. In fact, we call it the open market purchase for the increase the money supply. And in order to decrease the money supply, the central bank will conduct the OMOs, and we call that OMO the open market sale. Okay, open market sale. So almost is the means that the central bank used to influence the money supply, and it can be divided into two types of almost. The first one we call it open market purchase. The second one is the open market sale. For the open market purchase, it will affect the money supplies. Difference from the effects of the open market sale. Let me show you this one. I think it would be better if I just write it down. In fact, what I will write it down here is something that will show on your PowerPoint, but I think you should see the state of the derivation. It will make you understand this thing clearer. Okay, now let's examine the open market purchase first. Let's see. Okay, this one. We talk about OMO, right? For this one, it's a open market purchase. Okay, open market purchase. Oops. Let me just try this one first. Okay, I will start from the balance sheet of the central banks. For the first one, I will try to catch up with the slide because the slide will not show on my monitor, on the monitor. Okay, let's see this one. Let's see the central bank first. As you know that the central bank's balance sheet look like this. We have the currency in circulation here. We have reserve here. We have the security. In fact, in this topic, I mean the government bond here. Okay, let's say government bond. And here is the loans to financial institution. Okay, for this one, we will examine the open market purchase from the balance sheet perspective. In fact, the market purchase is when the central bank purchase or buy the government bond from the commercial bank. So they buy bond. They buy bond. Buy from whom? Buy from the commercial bank. I use bank. Okay, commercial bank. And for the commercial banks, we have the security or the government bonds are the asset, and we have the reserve on the asset side. Okay. Okay, before going to the balance sheet, I would like you guys to think about the open market purchase as a game. Suppose that I am a central bank, okay? I am a central bank, and you guys now are financial institutions named commercial banks, okay? You guys now are commercial banks. And I have money and have the government bond with me, and you also have the government bond and you have money, okay? You have two assets, bond and money. And let's think about this as in this classroom. The classroom now is the economy, okay? Is the economy, one economy. And suppose that I buy the government bond from you. What happened? I have to pay you with my money, right? You guys now are the commercial banks. And when I buy your bond, I have to pay you with the money, correct? So in this situation, what will affect with the level of the money in the overall economy? Increase or decrease? When I buy bond from you, I just replace the bond by inject the money into your pocket. So can you comment about the level of the money supply in the overall economy? Increase or decrease? It should increase, right? Because I just absorb the bond back to me, and I just inject the money into your pocket. So the level of the money supply in the economy should increase. Okay, we will examine this process systematically, I think. Okay, let's see. Suppose that I would like to buy the bond from you guys. Let's see for this one. This one I use the government bond, G bond. Okay. Let's see, it's only the asset side. This one, G bond of the commercial bank. Okay. And suppose that I just buy the bond from you worth 100 million. Okay, 100 million. The amount of the bond here, sorry, the value of the bond here on my asset side should increase by 100 million. Okay, because I just buy the bond from you. The bond from your asset will go to my asset here. And your bond here, the value will go down by 100 million. Okay, 100 million. And when I buy the bond worth 100 million, I have to inject or put the money into your pocket, right? my money, because I am a central bank, and when I inject the money into your pocket will be called reserve. So the amount of your reserve will increase by 100 million because you receive the money from me. And because your reserve is the liability to me, the value of the reserve here increased by 100 million. So because this one is the balance sheet of the central bank, and for this one is for the commercial bank, you will see that it is a balance sheet, right? The value here increased on your left hand side, which is the asset side, increased by 100, which is equal to the increase in the value on your right hand side. 100 and 100 is equal, so it's balanced already. And okay, let's examine the balance sheet of the commercial bank. You just sell the bond to me. Okay, so the value of your bond will decrease by 100 million, but it will be offset by the increase here, 100 in your pocket. Because you guys now are the commercial banks, I call your pocket reserve. So I inject the money 100 million into your reserve. In fact, each commercial bank will have the bank account with the central bank. So when the central banks buy the bond from the commercial bank, they just put the money into that account. Okay, put the money in that account. So the reserve here increased by 100 and offset by the decrease by 100. So the balance sheet of the commercial banks also balanced. So this is what happened in the balance sheet or the component of the balance sheet when the central banks conduct the open market purchase. The central bank buys bond from the commercial banks. That is all about the open market purchase. So for this one, we buy bond. What next? The open market sale. I will let you guys write it down first. Okay, for the next one, we are also talking about the OMO, but for this one, is the open market sales. Open market sale. Okay, open market sale. That is, we are selling government bond. Let's see. Let's start from the balance sheet. Government bond, loan, currency reserve. This one is from the central bank balance sheet, and for this one is for the commercial bank. Government bond is regarded as the securities, and here for this one it is the reserve. Please observe carefully that is the reserves appears on the asset side of the commercial bank, but the reserves appears on the liability side of the central bank. Okay, let's see. For this one, the open market sale. It is the situation in which a central bank sells the bond. Okay, sell the bond to the commercial bank. So because I am now a central bank, when I sell the bond to you, what will happen to the level of the money supply? When I sell the bond to you guys, because you guys now are the commercial bank, so the government bond here in my account should decrease, right? And the government bonds in your asset side should increase. okay, should increase. And for this one, when I sell the government bond, you have to pay me the money. How can you pay me the money? You can pay from your reserve. Remember that the commercial banks will have the account with the central bank, okay? The accounts with the central banks is the reserve here. So when I ask the central banks buy the bond, sell the bond to you, the government bonds will increase and you will have to pay me with your money. So the reserve or the money in your pocket will be decreasing because you pay for the bond, right? So for this one, I just show you is the direction. So if I use the number, suppose that I sell you the government bond worth 100 million. You will see for this one, the government bond will decrease by 100 million. Okay, 100 million. This one is the central bank. Okay, for this one, for the commercial bank, the government bond on the asset side of the commercial bank will increase by 100 million because now I sell the bond to you. And the reserve on your asset side should increase by 100 because this amount of money you used to pay me. And the reserve here should be decreasing by 100 million. So we call this one the open market sales. The effects of this open market sales will decrease the money supply. So if we get back to the graph of the money market, this guy is the interest rate. This guy is the money. Okay, the quantity here is the money, and this is the money supply. The graph of the money supply. MS1 is our starting point. When the central bank conduct the open market sales, okay, when the central bank conduct the open market sales, the money in the economy will be decreased. So this will happen when the central bank conduct the open market sale. So the central bank selling the bond to the commercial bank. But for this one, for the open market purchase, the money supply will shift to the right hand side. Okay, so this one is the effect of the open market purchase. The central bank buys bond from the financial institutions and inject the money into the reserve of the financial institution. And for this one is the effects of the open market sales, which is the central banks buy the bond from the financial institutions. I'm sorry, and which is the central bank sells the bond to the financial institution, and the financial institutions have to pay the money back to the central bank. As a result of this, the level of the money supply in the overall economy decreased. So this is the result of the open market sale. That is the result of the open market purchase. That is also about the open market operations. Not all the class, but also about the open market operation. Okay, can I move on to the next topic? The next topic that we're gonna talk is about the multiple deposit creation or the money creation. Okay, but for this one, it is also about the homos. So you have to make sure that you fully understand this one because this is a little bit important for the monetary policy. And this is the way that the central banks all around the world use to influence the money supply in the overall economy. Okay, let us get back to the computer. Okay, that is the open market purchase. We talked about it already. And now let's see for this one. Um, but this slide, I think I would like to skip it because it is a loan to financial institution. I think there is nothing to mention here. Okay, this one I would like to talk about this. You have to make sure that you understand everything here in every step. For this topic, it is a subtopic of the monetary policy. It's called the multiple deposit creation. In fact, it is the process that the money supply increases in the economy through the banking system. Okay, through the banking system. So the process called the multiple deposit creation evolves through the banking system. Okay, let's see. Suppose that we have the initial bank or the first bank. We call this first bank the First National Bank. I took the example from Michigan textbook, so I just used his word. Okay, the First National Bank. Suppose that the central bank conduct the open market purchase. That is, the central bank purchase the government bond from this bank. Okay, the central bank purchase the government bond, which is the security from this bank. Oops. So the amount or the values of the security here will be decreasing by 100 million because the central bank just buy the bond cost 100 million. And the central banks will inject the money back into the reserve of the First National Bank. However, the First National Bank use 100% of that reserves as the loan. That is, it makes loan from the whole reserve. Okay, so the reserve will be changed to loans, and it appears on the asset side of the First National Bank. So the loans here will be increasing by 100 million. Please note carefully that this is the commercial bank. So the loans here is loan to the general public. Okay, the loan to the general public. Suppose that Mr. A is a borrower for the First National Bank, and Mr. A just a person who just got the loan from the First National Bank, and for some reason, Mr. A just deposit 100, the amount of money of that money, into the next bank. We call the next bank the Bank A. Okay, Bank A. So Mr. A deposit 100 million here into the balance sheet of Bank A. So you just Mr. A just borrow the money from the First National Bank to make the deposit. Okay, borrow to make the deposit. It may sound a little bit ridiculous, but this is the assumption of the multiple deposit creation to show you the basic idea of how the banking system can affect the level of the money supply in the economy. Okay, now let's see what happens next. And suppose that for the First National Banks and Bank A are in the same economy, and in that economy, the central bank implement the 10% required reserve ratio. 10% required reserve ratio. What does it mean? It means that for 100% of your deposit, the commercial bank will have to collect 10% of that deposit as the reserve. And the rest, or the 90% of that money, the central bank can make loan. Okay? So for this one, Mr. A deposit 100 into the balance sheet of Bank A. Bank A is in the same system of the First National Bank. And for this one, Bank A has to embrace the 10% required reserves policy. So for 100 million here, Bank A has to collect 10% of 100 million. So for the reserve here on the asset side of bank A is set equal to 10 million because it's 10% of the 100 million deposit. And this one is a 90 million. For 90 million here, bank A just make loan. 100% of 90 million just make loan. They don't, bank A will not collect or will not keep any things of this 90 million with bank A. They just, he just make loan. Suppose that we have Mr. B. Mr. B is a borrower of bank A. Mr. B borrowed 90 million from bank A and then deposit the whole amount of 90 million into bank B. Bank B is also in the same economies with bank A and the First National Bank. So bank B has to adopt the 10% reserve, required reserve ratio. So bank B has to what happened? I think you should turn off something that you are watching now. Would you like to come up here and would you like to explain? Would you like to try to explain it to your friend? Or what happened to you? Okay, now let's get back to bank B because we have only 30 minutes left. Okay, hurry up. Let's see. For bank B, Mr. B deposit the whole amount of 90 million to bank B. And bank B also in the same system of the 10% required reserve. Okay, so bank B will keep 10% fraction of the 90 million. 10% of 90 million equal 9 million. And the rest of 90 million will be 81 million. For this one, bank B will make loan to Mr. C. Mr. C, sorry, okay, Mr. C just, Mr. C is a borrower from the bank B. So Mr. C got 81 million and then deposit the whole amount into bank C. Bank C also collect 10% of the 81 million. It is 8.1 million. And the rest of this is the 72.9 is to make loans to, let's see, I don't know, Mr. F, Mr. D, or Mr. something. And then that guy just borrow the money from bank C and deposit the money into bank D. The process continue forever. Thank you very much. Because for the First National Bank, very good question. Because for the First National Bank, for this one, you can see that the 100 million here occurs because of the open market purchase. So this one, the one that I don't show you is the reserve of the First National Bank. So what you see for this one is the change or the increase, the amount that increase from the open market purchase. Okay, so that's why you will not see 10% of the reserve of the First National Bank because we show only the number that increase, okay, from the open market purchase. Thank you very much. Really good question. Even though your friend listened to something, okay, just kidding. No worry about this. Okay. Okay, now let's see. Suppose that I calculate that information into this one. This is a series of the bank. You can see that for the First National Bank is the first column. The second column is the increase in deposit. Note carefully that I use the word increase in deposit. For the First National Bank, there is no deposit, okay? So it's set to 0. And this one is the increase in loan. The loan here is set equal to 100. In fact, it is the amount of money that the central bank pay for the 100 million of security that the central bank purchased from the First National Bank. So this is the increase, okay? Increase 100. So increase in reserve equals 0 because there is nothing increased. It increased only this one, 100. And the First National Bank use this amount of money to make loan. Okay, use to make loan. So for bank A, now we apply the required reserve for this one. For bank A, we have here 100, and bank A just collect the money with it equal 10. I just calculate everything that I just talked about. It look like this one. So what we are interested in this table is the bottom line, which is this one. This is the amount of the money. Sorry, this is the amount of the deposit, or the amount of the loan, and the amount of the reserve that increase. Okay, that increase, or the amount of money that is created through the multiple deposit creation. You can see that for this one, we don't print any new money. Okay, we don't print any new money. We just borrow and deposit, borrow and deposit, borrow and deposit. So, in fact, you can call this process the liquidity creation. The banking system generates the liquidity. It doesn't print any new money and inject the new money into the economy. No, it just creates the liquidity through the banking system. However, we call it the deposit creation. And you can see that for this one, if we still have the deposit left in the balance sheet of the commercial bank, the process will continue forever. And the final and the totals and the total money that the banking system can make is 1,000 for the increase in deposit, 1,000 for the increase in loans, and 100 for the reserve. For this one, we can use the what we call the geometric sum. I think you studied it already in F4211. I'm not sure whether you study financial math with Ajahn Alisa or not. Or if not, you should study some basic calculus from your grade 12 or 6, I'm not sure. It's somewhere there. But anyway, this is called the geometric sum. So in order to make it more clearer, I would like to show you the derivation of this. Okay, let's see. You can see that we can use the basic mathematics to explain the process. Okay, the process in this economy. Okay, let's see. I would like to write it down, so I will skip to the visualizer. Okay, this one. Okay, now let's see. What I try to explain is to give you the proper explanation of the process called the multiple deposit creation. So for this one, multiple deposit creation. Okay, multiple deposit creation. Oops. First, we have the implicit assumption that I don't state it explicitly, but I will write it down. Assumption for the process is that commercial bank in our system don't hold any excess reserve. This is our assumption. As you can see from my explanation, you will see that the bank make loan. For bank A collect only 10% in order to comply with the 10% required reserve, right? And then they just make loans of the 90 million to the general public. So in that case, they have no excess reserve with the commercial bank. As a result of this, you will find that, let me give you the explanation. Let me see. let me write down first and then I will give you the explanation. For this one is the total amount of required reserve. Okay, is the total amount of required reserves. So when I talk about the total amount of the required reserve, I mean the value at the bottom line from the table. So for this one is the total amount of the required reserve. Now it's set to equal R. R here stands for the total amount of reserve. Okay, total amount of reserve. When I talk about the total here, I would like to make it clear that I mean the bottom lines of the system. Okay, of the system. Okay, of the system. So for this one, you can see that for the total amount of the required reserve. In fact, it is set to equal the little r here. Little r here stands for the required reserve ratio. Required reserve ratio. In our examples, I use r equal 10% or 0.1. Okay? This guy should be multiplied by the total amount of deposit. Okay, so this one just shows the idea that when you deposit the money with the commercial bank has to keep the fraction, that fraction called the required reserve. But for these versions of the equation, we mean from the whole system. Okay, from the whole system. So we have this one equation 1 and this one equation 2. We just plug equation 2 into equation 1. We plug 2 into 1. What we get is here r multiplied by d equal r. So you will find that d equal 1 over r multiplied by r. What does it mean? You can see that for this equation. Suppose that for the first bank, suppose that we start from the 10 million as the total reserve. And in the system, we have set equal to 10%, right? Or 0.1. As the process evolves, you will end up with the deposit equal 100 million. This is just for the example that I used to explain the idea. Okay. Or it can be interpreted that in order to support the 100 millions of the deposit here, you need to keep 10 millions of your reserve. So this is the formula that we will use. However, we will taking change in both sides. This guy gonna be delta D. This is the change of the deposit equal 1 over r. And this guy gonna be changes in the reserve. Okay, this is the version that we will use. Delta D is the changes in the deposit equal 1 over r multiplied by delta r is the changes in the reserve. Okay, this is the formula, and this formula appear on your PowerPoint. Can I get back to the PowerPoint now? Okay, it seems to me that some of you guys still confused, but anyway, you can come to after the class. So this formula come from the derivation that I just showed you. In fact, to put it as simple as possible, if you would like to know the end result, or the final results of the process, you can use 1 over the required reserve ratio. In our case, it's 10%, right? So 1 over required reserve ratio equal 10, right? Equal 10. You can use this number multiply by the value from the first. You can use this value to multiply by the first value of each column, and then you will end up with the value at the bottom line. So for this one, you just multiply 100 with 1 over 0.1. What you will get is the 1000. So that is the total number or the total values that the multiple deposit creation process generate. And for this one, the total values of the loan, you can use the 1 over 0.1 multiplied with the 100. So you will end up with the 1000. And for this one, you can see that we have the 10 here for bank A. You just multiply 10 with the 1 over 0.1, and then you will end up with 100. So how can this formula work? In fact, it comes from the geometric sum, but I'm not sure that I should show you, but I don't want to show you. But anyway, I don't know whether I cannot make up my mind. But anyway, let's see for this one. Okay, I think I should show you. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. And from the table, we have the 100 at the first deposit, right? We have this guys at the 90 for the deposit for bank A. Oops, sorry. 190 plus 81 plus. For this one, you can see that in fact 100 here in your deposit is the delta R, or the change in the reserve, plus the delta R here. But for this one is the amount of money that you have to make loan. So it is the fraction left after the required reserve. Okay? Plus delta R 1 minus R square. Suppose that this guy, I set it equal to S. S is the sum. S here equal delta R. I just pull it out. 1 plus 1 minus R plus 1 minus R square plus 1 minus R to the square of 3 plus. Okay. This is the geometric series. Okay. This is the geometric series. And from mathematics, you know that this guy equal 1 over 1 minus the common ratio here, which is 1 minus. In fact, it is the same formula as the perpetuity. I think you guys know perpetuity, right? Perpetuity. If you don't know, don't worry. Just study only this one. For this one, what you will get is here. Okay? So you can have the formula as this one. And this is the derivation of the formula that I used in the PowerPoint. In fact, you don't need to mess up with this equation. What you will have to do is to use this one, okay, in your examples or in your exam. You just use only this one. But you have to make sure that you can use it properly. You don't need to derive it, but I wanted to show you. Otherwise, you don't know where it's come from. Okay? So this is the bottom line. We use its ratio to multiply by the changes in the reserve, and it will give you the total value of the item that we would like to explore for the multiple deposit creation. Okay, now let's get back to the slide. Would you like to finish the class? No? Okay. No. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. And then, okay, talk about this one as the last slide, and then I will let you go. Okay. As you can see that we talk about the currency, we talk about the reserve. But when I talk about the money supply, I just draw the graph and I call the vertical lines as the money supply, right? For this slide, it will give you the definitions, the proper definition of the money supply. In fact, the money supply is called M1. M1 equals to the currency in circulation plus the demand deposit. The demand deposit is the money that you deposit into the commercial bank. Okay, the money that you deposit into the commercial bank. We use a capital letter D stand for the deposit. So money supply equal C plus D. Okay, C plus D. And how about the monetary base? The monetary base is the sum of the items on the asset side. Sorry, the sum of the items on the liability side of the central bank. You can see that the monetary base equal currency and reserve. Currency here is the currency in circulation, and reserve here is the money with the in the pocket of the financial institution. Okay, in our case, in the commercial bank. So for M1, it can be categorized. Sorry, it can be explained. It can be decomposed. Okay, it can be decomposed into M0. M0, in fact, is a currency. M0 is the most liquid asset in the world, which is cash. Or cash in your hand. But for M1, we also include deposit into M0. Deposit will somehow less liquid compared with the currency. Okay. In fact, we have M0, M1, M2, M3. But for each M, we just incorporate the asset that is less liquid compared with the previous asset in the class of the M, the previous M. Okay. So money supply equal currency plus demand deposit. Monetary base or high power money equal currency plus reserve. That is all about today's lecture. See you next week. Next time. We will see again on 15 November, right? 15. Oh, no. Next Sunday, okay, somewhere. Okay, that time. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please come to me. Thank you. And I